I was standing in the cereal aisle, trying to decide between two brands I did not even like, when she said it. "I know you." Her voice was calm, not surprised, not excited, just certain. I turned slowly, already prepared to say she must have me confused with someone else. That had happened before. I had one of those faces, average enough to belong to anyone. But when I saw her, the words caught in my throat. She was standing a few feet away from me, holding a red shopping basket in one hand. Early 30s, maybe. Dark brown hair pulled back into a loose ponytail. Light denim jacket over a white shirt. Simple, clean, no heavy makeup. But her eyes were what stopped me. She was not guessing. She was sure. I forced a small smile. "I'm sorry?" She studied my face like she was checking something against a memory. "You're Daniel Harper," she said, not asking, saying. My heart skipped in a way I did not like. I had not heard my full name spoken like that in years, not outside of emails or business calls. "Yeah," I said slowly. "Do we know each other?" Quote. A soft breath left her lips, almost like relief. "I was hoping it was you." The grocery store suddenly felt too bright. The buzzing lights overhead seemed louder. Somewhere near the front registers, a child was crying. A cartwheel squeaked as someone pushed it past us, but all I could focus on was her. She shifted her basket to the other hand. "You probably don't recognize me." There was something about the way she said it, not offended, not accusing, just honest. I searched her face again. Something tugged at the back of my mind. A familiar shape to her smile. The way she tilted her head slightly to the right when she looked at me. "I'm sorry," I said again. "I don't." She nodded like she expected that. "It's been 12 years. 12 years! The number hit me harder than it should have. "I'm Emily," she said quietly, and just like that the air left my lungs. Emily. The name opened a door in my memory I had kept locked for a long time. Summers in a small town outside Portland. Long afternoons by the lake. A girl with scraped knees and loud laughter who used to race me down gravel roads. A girl who once told me she would never forgive me if I left without saying goodbye. But I did. I stared at her, really stared this time. The little scar above her left eyebrow, the one she got falling off my bike when we were 16. The faint dimple in her right cheek when she tried not to smile. "Emily Lawson?" I asked, my voice almost a whisper. She smiled fully then, and there it was. The same smile that used to undo me when I was young and stupid and sure I had all the time in the world. "Yeah," she said. "That's me." For a moment, neither of us spoke. The cereal boxes around us felt like walls, bright colors, fake happiness printed on cardboard. It all seemed so small compared to the weight of 12 years standing between us. "You look," I started, then stopped. Older sounded wrong. Different sounded distant. Beautiful felt too honest. "You look good," I finished. She gave a small laugh. "You don't." I blinked. She grinned. "I mean that in a nice way. You look tired, like life's been busy." I let out a breath I did not realize I was holding. "Yeah, something like that." She glanced down at the cereal boxes between us. "Still hate Raisin Bran?" I looked at the box in my hand. Raisin Bran. A slow smile spread across my face before I could stop it. "I guess some things don't change." She shook her head softly. "Some do." There it was, a shift in the air, subtle, but heavy. I cleared my throat. "So what are you doing here? I thought you moved." "I did," she said. "I came back last year." Back. The word settled in my chest, in a way I was not prepared for. I had moved back to Cedar Ridge 3 months ago after my divorce. After everything fell apart in a quiet, polite way that left no broken plates but plenty of broken promises. I came back because I did not know where else to go. "I live 5 minutes from here," she added, "near the old baseball field." I nodded slowly. I drove past that field almost every day. I had not known she was that close. "Are you married?" she asked gently. The question was simple, but her eyes were careful. "No," I said, "not anymore." She studied my face again, not with pity, just understanding. "Me neither," she said. "I did not ask what happened." The way she said it told me enough. Life had not gone exactly how either of us planned. A man reached between us to grab a box of cornflakes, muttered a quick, "Excuse me," and walked away. The interruption broke something open. "I can't believe this," I said, running a hand through my hair. "I haven't thought about. I have, but—" "But you didn't think you'd see me in the cereal aisle on a Tuesday afternoon," she finished. I laughed softly. "No, I didn't." She shifted her weight, and for the first time I noticed a small silver necklace around her neck. A tiny compass charm rested against her collarbone. "You left without saying goodbye," she said suddenly. It was not angry. It was not loud. It was simple truth. My chest tightened. "I know." I had gotten into my car the morning after graduation and driven straight to Seattle. No farewell party, no last walk by the lake. I told myself it would be easier that way. Cleaner. I was wrong. "I was 18, I said quietly. "I thought leaving fast would make it hurt less." She held my gaze. "Did it?" Quote. I swallowed. "No." Silence stretched between us again, not uncomfortable, just full. She looked down at her basket, then back at me. "I used to come into this store hoping I'd run into you when you visited your parents." "I didn't visit much," I admitted. "I know." There was no blame in her voice. That almost made it worse. A strange warmth spread through me, mixed with regret and something else I did not want to name yet. Seeing her felt like opening an old book and realizing the story was not finished. "I'm glad it's you," she said softly. "Why?" I asked before I could stop myself. Her eyes met mine again, steady, honest. The same way they had looked at me when we were 16 and lying on the hood of my car, staring at the stars. "Because I never stopped wondering what would have happened if you stayed." The words settled deep inside me. Around us, life kept moving. Carts rolled. Cash registers beeped. Someone laughed near the bakery section, but in that aisle, it felt like time had folded in on itself. I set the Raisin Bran back on the shelf. "I guess we'll never know," I said, though my voice did not sound certain. Emily tilted her head slightly, that familiar way she always did when she was about to challenge me. "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe we still can." We stood there in the cereal aisle a second longer than we should have. People moved around us, reaching for boxes, pushing carts, living their ordinary lives. But it felt like the floor beneath me had shifted. Like something old and buried had just been uncovered, and I did not know whether to protect it or run from it. Emily glanced toward the front of the store. "Are you in a rush?" I shook my head. I had nowhere to be, no one waiting for me at home. Not really. She gave a small nod. "There's a coffee shop next door, if you want." It was a simple offer, casual, but my chest tightened anyway. Coffee meant talking. Talking meant remembering. Remembering meant feeling. And I had spent the last 3 months trying not to feel much of anything. "Yeah," I said before I could talk myself out of it. "Okay." We checked out separately, standing in line side by side like strangers who just happened to shop at the same place. I noticed the way she placed her items on the belt carefully. Milk, bread, eggs, strawberries. Normal things. Grounded things. Outside, the sky was overcast. The kind of soft gray that made everything feel quiet. Cedar Ridge had not changed much since I was a kid. Same cracked sidewalks. Same faded storefronts. Same smell of pine in the air. We walked next door without saying much. The bell above the coffee shop door rang softly when we entered. It was small inside. Warm lighting. Wooden tables. The smell of fresh espresso. A few college students sat near the window with laptops open. An older couple shared a pastry in the corner. We ordered at the counter. She got a latte. I got black coffee, like I always did. Some habits stick. When we sat down across from each other, it felt strange and familiar at the same time. Like stepping into an old photograph. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "You look different," she said finally. "Older?" I asked. She smiled, more serious. I leaned back in my chair. "Life does that." She traced the rim of her cup with her finger. "Yeah, it does." I studied her face while she looked down at her coffee. There were small lines at the corners of her eyes now. Not from stress, from smiling. She looked stronger than I remembered, less like the girl who used to chase me down the dock demanding a rematch. "You look," I hesitated again. "Say it," she said, glancing up, "like you know exactly who you are." She held my gaze for a second, then looked away with a soft laugh. That took a while. "What happened?" I asked gently. She understood what I meant. Not just the last 12 years. The part where she said she was not married anymore. She took a slow breath. "I got married at 24. Too young, too eager. I thought love was supposed to feel dramatic all the time." I nodded. I knew that mistake well. "He was a good man," she continued. "Just not my man." There was no bitterness in her voice, just honesty. We lasted 8 years. Then one day we both realized we were roommates who shared bills. I stared down at my coffee. The words felt familiar. "My divorce was finalized in January," I said. Her eyes softened. "I'm sorry." "I'm not," I said before thinking. Then I shrugged. "Well, maybe I am. For the version of me that thought it would last forever." She smiled faintly. We were always big on forever. The memory hit me fast. 16 years old, lying on the grass behind the high school, her head on my chest. We had planned everything. College, jobs, a small house near the lake, 2 kids, a golden retriever. Forever felt easy when you were young. I thought leaving was the brave thing, I admitted. I thought staying meant settling. She tilted her head slightly. "And now?" I looked around the coffee shop, at the quiet town I once ran from. "Now I'm not so sure." She studied me in a way that made my chest tighten. Not judging, just seeing. "Why did you come back?" she asked. I hesitated. After the divorce, Seattle felt loud. Every street had a memory attached to it. I needed quiet. She nodded slowly. "Cedar Ridge is good at quiet." "What about you?" I asked. "Why come back?" She smiled a little. "My dad got sick. I moved home to help my mom. He passed last year." "I didn't know," I said softly. "You wouldn't have," she replied gently. There was no blame, just truth again. "I stayed after," she continued. "I thought I'd leave once things settled, but then I didn't." "Because?" I asked. She looked out the window for a long moment before answering. "Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to be who someone else needed me to be." Her words settled between us. I realized something then. The girl I left behind had grown into someone steady, someone who had walked through pain and come out clearer. "I used to be so angry at you," she said suddenly. I met her eyes. "I know. For years I told myself I hated you. That hurt more than I expected. But the truth?" she continued. "I was hurt because I believed you when you said you'd stay." I swallowed. "I meant it." "I know you did," she said quietly. Silence wrapped around us again, but this time it felt softer. "You broke my heart," she said gently. "I broke my own too," I replied. She let out a small breath that almost sounded like a laugh. "We were kids." "Yeah," I said, "we were." A song played softly over the speakers. Something slow and acoustic. It reminded me of summer nights and open car windows. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you didn't leave?" she asked. "All the time," I admitted. Her eyes widened slightly. "You do?" "More than I should." She leaned back in her chair, studying me carefully now. "And?" she asked, and I usually stop myself before I go too far. "Why?" "Because it feels dangerous." The corner of her mouth lifted. "Dangerous how?" "Like if I let myself imagine it, I might start wanting it." Her eyes held mine, steady and unblinking. "And what's wrong with wanting it?" she asked softly. My pulse quickened. "I just got back," I said. "You just saw me again after 12 years. We don't even know who we are to each other anymore." She nodded slowly. "That's true." Quote. But she did not look convinced. Outside, the sky darkened slightly, the gray getting heavier. "I don't believe in accidents," she said after a moment. "What do you believe in?" She met my eyes again. "I believe some people come back into your life for a reason." The way she said it made my chest feel tight. "You think that's what this is?" I asked. "I think," she said carefully, "that we didn't get a fair chance the first time." The words hung there between us. 12 years of distance, regret, growth, pain, all sitting at a small wooden table in a coffee shop. I looked at her hands resting on the table. The same hands that used to reach for mine when we crossed the street. The same hands I let go of without looking back. "What are you saying, Emily?" I asked quietly. She held my gaze without hesitation this time. "I'm saying," she said softly, "that if you're here to run again, I need to know now." My heart pounded. "I'm not running," I said. "Then what are you doing?" I took a slow breath. "I don't know yet." Quote. She searched my face like she was measuring the truth in my words. Finally, she nodded once. "Okay," she said. "Then let's not pretend this is nothing." I felt something shift in me then. Not fear, not regret, hope. And hope, after everything, felt terrifying. After that day at the coffee shop, everything felt different. Not dramatic, not loud, just charged. Like the air before a storm. We did not make any big promises. We did not define anything. But we did not walk away either. That night, I found myself driving past her house without meaning to. It was a small blue place near the old baseball field, just like she said. The porch light was on, a warm glow through the front window. I slowed down without thinking. I did not stop, but I did not speed up either. The next morning, I woke up with her voice still in my head. "If you're here to run again, I need to know now." I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time, staring at the wall. I had spent most of my adult life chasing something bigger, better, louder, and now I was back in the one place I once called too small. By noon, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My chest tightened before I even answered. "Hello? Still hate Raisin Bran?" her voice asked. I smiled, without meaning to. "Still do." "Good," she said. "Because I accidentally bought 2 boxes. I need help getting rid of it." I laughed softly. "That sounds like a trap." "It is," she admitted. "You busy?" I looked around my empty apartment. Unpacked boxes still stacked against the wall, silence filling every corner. "No," I said. "I'm not." "Come over," she said. "I'll make pancakes. Real ones. Not the frozen kind you used to pretend were fine." "I never pretended," I said. "I complained the whole time." "I remember," she replied. There was a softness in her voice that made my chest ache. "I'll be there in 10, I said. Her house smelled like vanilla and coffee when I walked in. She was barefoot in the kitchen, wearing jeans and a loose gray sweater. Her hair was down today, falling over her shoulders. For a second, I just stood there in the doorway. "You going to stare all morning?" she asked without turning around. "Probably," I said. She glanced at me over her shoulder, smiling. "You always did that." "Did what?" "Look at me like you were trying to memorize something." I swallowed. Maybe I was. She turned back to the stove, but I saw her smile grow. We ate at her small kitchen table, pancakes stacked high, strawberries on top. The same easy quiet from the coffee shop, but warmer now. "So what's the plan?" she asked, cutting into her pancake. "For what?" "For us pretending we're just 2 old friends catching up." I met her eyes. "You don't want to pretend." "No," she said simply. "I don't." Neither did I. After breakfast, we walked to the baseball field. The grass was overgrown now, the bleachers slightly rusted, but it was the same field where we used to sit on Friday nights, sharing cheap sodas and talking about leaving this town. "You remember that night?" she asked, sitting on the lowest bleacher. "Which one?" "When you told me you were accepted to Seattle." I sat beside her. "Yeah." "You looked so excited," she said, "like the world was opening up." Quote. "It was," I said quietly, "and I was so scared." I turned to her. "Why didn't you say that?" She let out a soft laugh. "I was 18. I thought loving you meant cheering for you, even if it hurt." Her honesty hit me harder than anything else had so far. "I didn't know how to ask you to stay," she added. "I don't think I would've," I admitted. She nodded slowly. "I know." We sat there in silence, the wind moving gently through the trees. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "Leaving?" "Yes." I thought about Seattle, the career, the marriage, the life that looked impressive on paper but felt empty in the quiet moments. "I regret how I left," I said finally. "Not that I grew, but that I thought growing meant cutting everything off." She looked at me carefully. "And now?" "Now I think maybe growing means knowing what's worth holding on to." Her breath caught slightly at that. "Daniel," she said softly. I reached for her hand before I could stop myself. She did not pull away. Her fingers laced with mine like they remembered the shape. "I don't want to rush this," she said, her voice lower now, "but I also don't want to be cautious forever." "I don't either." Her thumb brushed against my knuckles absent-mindedly, and it sent a warmth through me that I had not felt in years. "This feels dangerous," I admitted. She smiled faintly. "Good dangerous or bad dangerous?" "Good," I said. "Like jumping into cold water and realizing you're more alive than you thought." She laughed softly. "You always did love dramatic comparisons." I squeezed her hand gently. "You always loved that about me." She looked at me then, really looked at me. And something shifted. Slowly, carefully, she leaned closer. My heart pounded so loud I was sure she could hear it. "This is the part where you don't run," she whispered. "I'm not running," I said, and I meant it. Her lips met mine gently at first, soft, testing. Familiar in a way that felt impossible after 12 years. It was not rushed, not desperate. It was careful, intentional, like we both understood what it meant. When she pulled back, her forehead rested lightly against mine. "We're not kids anymore," she said quietly. "No," I agreed, "we're not. This time, if we do this, we do it honestly." "I promise," I said. She searched my face for a long moment, making sure. Then she nodded once. "Okay." We stayed there on the bleachers for a while longer, hands still intertwined, the afternoon sun warming the metal beneath us. For the first time since I moved back, I did not feel like I was hiding from my life. I felt like I was stepping into it. And as I looked at Emily sitting beside me, I realized something that both terrified and steadied me at the same time. I had not just run into a woman at a grocery store. I had run into the one person who knew exactly who I was before I became everything else. And this time, I was not going to let her slip away. The days after that kiss felt different. Not loud, not dramatic, just certain. We did not rush into anything. We did not post photos or make announcements. Cedar Ridge was small, and people noticed things without needing to be told. But this was not about anyone else. It was about whether we could build something stronger than what we had at 18. I started spending most evenings at her house. Sometimes we cooked together. Sometimes we just sat on her couch with the windows open, listening to the quiet hum of the town settling down for the night. We talked about things we never understood when we were younger. Fear, pride, the need to prove something to people who were not even watching. One night, about 3 weeks after the grocery store, we were washing dishes side by side. "You're different," she said, handing me a towel. "So are you." She smiled faintly. "No, I mean you're softer." I looked at her. "Is that bad?" Quote. She shook her head. "No, it's brave." That word stayed with me. Brave used to mean leaving, taking risks, chasing ambition. Now it meant staying, listening, choosing someone even when it scared you. One afternoon, I drove to Seattle to finish paperwork at my old office. I packed the last of my things into a single box. My desk looked smaller than I remembered. The skyline outside the window felt distant, like it belonged to someone else's life. When my former partner shook my hand and wished me luck, I realized something. For the first time, I was not leaving something behind to chase a bigger dream. I was walking towards something that already felt like home. That night, I told Emily. "You're really staying?" she asked, her eyes wide. "I signed the lease termination today." She did not say anything for a second. Then she walked over and wrapped her arms around me. Not dramatic, not spinning around, just tight and real. "I was scared to ask you," she admitted into my chest. "You didn't have to," I said. "I already knew." We started building small routines. Saturday mornings at the farmer's market. Sunday, walks by the lake. Wednesday nights cooking something new just because we felt like it. It was not perfect. We had moments. Old habits tried to creep in. I would get quiet when work emails stressed me out. She would pull away when she felt overwhelmed. But this time, we talked. Not defensively, not to win, just to understand. One evening, about 2 months in, we drove to the lake where we used to spend our summers. The dock was still there, slightly repaired, slightly older. Like us, we sat at the edge with our feet hanging over the water. "I used to come here after you left," she said softly. "I didn't know that. I would sit right here and try to convince myself I did not miss you. I felt that familiar ache in my chest. I missed you," I admitted, even when I pretended I didn't. She looked at me carefully. "Why didn't you ever call?" Quote, "I thought about that for a long moment, because I thought if I heard your voice I'd come back. And I wasn't ready to choose this life yet." She nodded slowly. "And now?" I looked out at the water, calm, steady. Now I don't see it as small anymore. She smiled gently. "It never was." The sun started to set, painting the lake in soft gold. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly. "Of what?" "Of believing in this too much." I turned toward her. "Why?" "Because the first time almost broke me." I reached for her hand. "This isn't the first time," I said. "That was practice." She laughed softly at that, but her eyes were shining. "You're serious," she said. "I've never been more serious about anything." The truth of it surprised even me. I was not chasing an idea anymore. I was choosing a person. She studied my face the way she had in the cereal aisle weeks ago. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. "If you get another big offer somewhere else one day, will you leave again?" The old version of me might have hesitated, might have talked about opportunities and growth and keeping options open. But that version had already lived his life. "I won't build a life I'm not willing to stay for," I said. Her breath caught. "You're sure?" Quote, "Yes." She leaned forward and kissed me. Not careful this time, not hesitant, certain. The kind of kiss that says, "I'm choosing you too." As the sun disappeared behind the trees, she rested her head on my shoulder. "You know," she said softly, "I used to think you were the one that got away." I smiled. "And now?" Quote, "Now I think you just needed time to find your way back." I wrapped my arm around her, pulling her closer. "I guess some stories aren't meant to end at 18, I said. She laughed quietly. "No, some just need 12 years in a grocery store." The sky turned from gold to pink to deep blue. The town lights flickered on in the distance. And as I sat there with her, listening to the water move gently against the dock, I understood something clearly. When she said, "I know you," she was right. She knew the version of me before ambition, before ego, before fear. And somehow, she still wanted the man I had become. That was the part that mattered. I did not run. She did not wait in silence anymore. We chose each other fully. Not because it was dramatic, not because it was easy, but because it was real. And this time, when I looked at the future, I did not see something I needed to escape toward. I saw a small town, a blue house near a baseball field, pancakes on Sunday mornings, quiet evenings, honest conversations. I saw her, and for the first time in my life, staying felt like the biggest adventure of all.